This is The Gist, the essential podcast for the discerning listener.
Welcome to The Gist. I'm John.
And I'm Mary. It's Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. We are your smart friends on the go.
We break down the day's top stories, cut the jargon, and look at who really benefits and why. Let's get into it.
Let's start with the gist view. There is a massive shift happening in North American trade. The United States is fundamentally changing the rules with its neighbours.
Right, Jamieson Greer, the United States trade representative, just dropped a bombshell. Washington is abandoning the long-term renewal of the United States MCA. That's the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, the pact that replaced NAFTA.
Instead of locking in a permanent deal, the United States wants rolling annual negotiations. Think of it like moving from a 10-year mortgage to a month-to-month lease.
And your landlord can change the rent every 30 days. According to Bloomberg, this destroys long-term economic certainty across the continent.
But let's look at the incentives here. Why do this? It is all about power. By forcing a review every single year, Washington gains perpetual leverage over Mexico and Canada.
Exactly. It turns a stable free trade zone into a lobbying bazaar. If you run a cross-border business, you now have to petition Washington every 12 months just to keep your supply lines open.
Who benefits? Politicians in DC. They get a constant stream of leverage and lobbying money. But there is a practical reality driving this too. Global supply chains move fast. Right now, a lot of Chinese manufacturing routes through Mexico to avoid United States tariffs.
Annual reviews let Washington adapt quickly to block those workarounds. But the cost is huge. Cross-border capital investment requires stability. When you trade a predictable treaty for continuous executive patronage, that stability vanishes.
Moving to the global overview, let's talk tech and money. Meta is making a massive play in India.
Bloomberg reports Meta just poured $900 million into Cred. That is an Indian credit and financial tech platform. The deal values Cred at $4.5 billion.
And here is the core strategy. Meta is putting Cred's founder, Kunal Shah, in charge of WhatsApp.
Why does this matter? Well, WhatsApp has 500 million users in India. Up until now, it's mostly been a messaging app. This is a hard infrastructure play. Meta wants to turn those 500 million chats into direct payments and commerce.
They want a direct cut of the resource flow. Over in the United States, investors are staring at the Federal Reserve. Markets are hoping for an interest rate cut.
Yes, there was a dovish signal from former Fed official Kevin Warsh. A dovish signal basically means hinting at lower interest rates to encourage borrowing and spending, but do not hold your breath.
Right. Analysts at JP Morgan predict the central bank will ignore the market momentum. They expect the Fed to hold rates exactly where they are through the rest of the year.
Finally, if you want to get away from it all, NASA is hiring, but there is a massive catch.
Starting in August 2027, NASA needs volunteers for a year-long simulated mission to the Moon and Mars.
You will not leave Earth. You will be locked inside an isolated habitat at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
They are testing human endurance for deep space deployment. It is the ultimate psychological stress test.
Let's turn to the European perspective. The physical ties between Russia and Europe are literally being severed today.
That is right. Today, July 1st, Russia suspended operations at 7 railway crossings with Finland, Estonia and Latvia. Politico notes this formalises a hard physical decoupling.
During the Soviet era, these rail lines shared the same track width or gauge. Now, that legacy integration is dead.
Who benefits? Long-term, the Baltic states. This cut-off forces them to speed up their transition to standard European rail gauges. Projects like Rail Baltica will physically tie them closer to Western Europe.
Meanwhile, trade tensions are boiling over in Brussels. Manfred Weber just issued a strict ultimatum to Beijing. Weber is the chief of the European People's Party, or EPP. They are the largest centre-right group in the European Parliament.
Weber told Euronews the European Union will enter a phase of conflict with China unless a trade deal is struck by autumn.
It's a classic power play. Europe is using access to its massive consumer market as leverage. They want to force industrial concessions from Beijing before time runs out.
In France, the clock is also ticking for lawmakers. Politico reports French deputies only have 6 months left to pass key budget and security bills.
Why the rush? Parliament effectively shuts down on February the 28th, 2027. That happens 2 months before the presidential election. It severely limits the runway for any major economic reforms in France.
Over in Ukraine, the grim reality of the war continues. According to ZDF, Russian forces struck Kharkiv with glide bombs. These are heavy, guided munitions dropped from far away.
The strike killed 2 people, including a 15-year-old, and injured 26. It highlights how Russia is expanding the deadly reach of these standoff weapons.
And finally, climate stress is hitting European infrastructure. Euronews reports England just had its warmest June on record.
It isn't just a weather story. Extreme heat buckles train tracks and strains power grids. United Kingdom leadership is facing a massive, expensive stress test on its ageing infrastructure.
That brings us to today's temperature check. Globally, permanent deals are out. From the USMCA to European trade policy, we are entering an era of rolling ultimatums.
The trend is crystal clear. Powerful players are trading long-term stability for short-term political leverage. Whether that's Washington squeezing continental supply chains or Meta monetizing your messages, the rules of the game are now being rewritten every 12 months.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If you found today's breakdown useful and want to stay ahead of the curve, get the gist delivered free to your inbox every morning.
Just tap the subscribe link in the show notes to join us. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Gist, News Digest, and podcast are entirely written and produced by artificial intelligence. The Gist is out 3 times a day, every day, providing you with a liberal perspective on what to expect next. For more information and donations, visit thegist.online. Thank you for listening.